Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to another video of the Final Cut Pro series. After the video I made last time where I discussed the data management, I wanted to make this one where I will show you the basics of the software. I will quickly glance over some of the functionalities and really show you how to put up your first timeline together and import some footage and ways that you would go about exporting your footage once you're done. Again, this is going to be really basic. This is really for people that have never touched the software. So let's jump into it and I'll get on the computer. So here we are in the software again. So as I showed you last time, I went ahead and created a new library. So let me do it again so that you can see. I would advise you to create a library every time that you're working on a new project. Again, so I'm just going to name that one Taste YouTube. Again, you can save your libraries directly on your internal hard drive because those specific files do not take the bulk of the space. So I will go ahead and save that up here. Then whenever you have that library started, you will see that it will have created an event and it will allow you to import media. So before getting started and starting to import media, I just wanted to really do a quick run on the software functionalities and some of the buttons so you can get an idea of what does what. Here, the first thing, this will give you access to all your libraries and all your project and everything. This one here will allow you to get access to your pictures or your music. So you can easily import pictures and music from here. I know that they pretty much here do it because they will be synced with iPhoto or iTunes or any of the Apple software. What I would really want to bring up is that here you have access to a built-in sound effect library directly in Final Cut Pro X. So this is extremely useful. You can do your own searches and you will find a lot of sound effect. Next up, here you'll have all your titles. So think about if you want to add any sort of text, any basic title, this is where you will find all of those. So let me go back here to your actual files. So here is pretty much where you'll be able to preview all of your video or anything that you're working on. This is the inspector. So once you select your video or any files that are on your timelines, you'll see this will give you access to modifying the video in different aspects. So you'll be able to change the position, you'll be able to, if you need to zoom in or zoom out, crop it, distort it, stabilize it, and anything that pertains to the specific video or photo that you're working on, you will be able to inspect it here and get access to all the functionality. So if I work my way down here, right now you're seeing all the effects. So all of the effect on both video and audio. Final Cut Pro X comes loaded up with a lot of effects from both your video and your audio. So you can see here by the name of it, the effect. So you'll be able to select them and slide them directly on your video. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the other functionality of this little quadrant is that if you go and press here, that will show you and give you access to all your transition. So again, that's something that you will slide in between two pieces of video and help you have a transition. Final Cut Pro X comes with a lot of transition that you can experiment with. In other videos, I'll probably show you where to find different kind of transition and different kind of effect that you can install and take advantage of. Next thing that will be really useful is here. If you go down, so obviously this is all the functionality that you will have with your mouse, and you will use that a lot. So I bet that eventually you only use the shortcuts to gain access to those options. For example, the blade will allow you to cut the video at a certain time. Trim, you will be able to reposition the video or change things within it. So all of those are extremely useful. But pretty much what I've shown you here is really is the basics, and that's what I use 90% of the time. And if you are aware of those items, then you will be able to get started and start working on your video. So the next step that I wanted to show you is that you will get started by importing media. So I'm just gonna import some drone footage that I have had. So please remember from that past video, I highly recommend that you have this option clicked to leave the files in place. So please have everything on an external hard drive and leave it there, and that will save you a lot of room. Then you can start importing. So here you have all your videos. So the next step is that if you want to get started on the video itself, you have two ways. You can go into File, New, and you will create a new project. Here you will get to name it. This will tell you in which event this project is going to live. So I want it to be here, so I can leave it that way. And then you will select the video format. So honestly, you could even, if your computer is a little slow, I would advise you to have it to 720p to do the work, and you can actually go back and change it back to something else afterward before you're ready to finish your project. So for example, let's start with 720p. So now your project was created here. So if I double click on it, now I can start and import some video. So for example, so you can select the whole video, or you can, if you hover with your mouse, so if you click, you can decide and pick a smaller length of the video and directly include that. Let me randomly pick some footage. Here you go. So again, if you needed to, let's say you wanted to cut this video, you'd use the blade, then you would have to go back to select, then you can use the key delete to delete this. You can always use this, and then by pressing the space bar, you would start playing it, and so you can get an idea of what's going on. So let me bring out something that's really important now. Here you see all those dots. All those dots mean that this video has not been rendered, meaning that when I'm playing it with the space bar in order to preview it here, it could get choppy. It's not now because I barely have anything in the timeline, but imagine that you've been working on the project and that you have a lot of titles, a lot of effects, a lot of video or images. It might get choppy. So you have two ways of dealing with that. Go back to the preference and go into the playback option and then rendering. So by default, this is going to be selected. That means that every time that you let go of the mouse, you will see on the top left that there is something happening and it's actually rendering your video. So let me just explain you what's happening. So the good thing is that now that it's rendered, you will be able to play it, to play the preview. It will be rendered, meaning that it's not going to be choppy. You will have a great idea of what it looks like. So remember when I told you that you could select 720p and then you might be able to change it back? So that's when it comes into play. Let's say that you're going to work with 4K footage. I would advise you to just do everything in 720p, and then actually, so if you select the project, you will see in the inspector the parameters of the specific project, which is 720p, 24 frames per second. I can modify that at any time. I can reopen it, and then let's say my footage is in 4K, so I could put everything in 4K. So now everything is in 4K. What you have to keep in mind is that if you work with everything in 4K, it's going to be much more demanding on your computer, and so the rendering time might get much longer, and even by rendering it, it might still get choppy just because it's going to be really challenging for your computer to process all that information. So if I were you, just leave it on 720p, just work your project like that, and once you're done, you can just go back, put it back to 1080p or 4K, and then you can export. Let's say that you're done now. So let's say I'm just gonna show you a little thing. So let me see, I'm just gonna add a transition. I'm gonna add this one. create transition. Also, you can use your mouse to, if you're using a tripod, you can zoom in and zoom out of on your timeline, which can be really useful when you're trying to really get more precise with what you're doing. So you'll see that right now, since I'm not moving, it's rendering everything. So again, sometimes I prefer to disable the rendering just because it gets in my way of my workflow. But so if that's a problem for you, you can always, as you've seen, preference, and you could disable it if you're really going to work on a lot of things and you don't want it to start working in the background and bother you. You could also import media. I'm just going to import a song. So I'm going to get a song, same, so you can import, you can select how much of the song you want, just slide it in, use B, you can cut it, select delete. Alright, so let's see like a little 25-second. So this is extremely basic. This was really just to get you an idea of the basic options of the software. And so now that you're done, so again, remember, since you've selected it to 720p, it's only going to let you export it in 720p. So I want to export it in 4K, so I have to go back here, changing to 4K. And then now, if I do file, share, Apple devices 4K, you can check it in the settings. You'll see that I'm in 4K, and then next, save. And that's it. So similarly, the sharing is going to show itself here into where the rendering was showing earlier. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's going to take a while to actually render it, especially if you're working with 4K material. Thank you for watching the video. So again, this was really a quick overview of the software and its functionalities. I hope that you got value out of it, especially if you really are just getting started with this software. The software has a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of things that can be done with it. So you really have to work your way up. So I'll help you with that, and I'll come up with new videos to discuss some of the more advanced aspect of the software. But for now, that's all I wanted to show you. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.